you help men rebuild their lives through the power of faith and fitness. And I think a lot of people listening to this podcast know about how faith can help them quit pornography and grow out of their sexual behavior. What about fitness?
Yeah, great question. You referenced a book when you were on my podcast, and it was Wired for Intimacy, and in there, his name is
William Struthers.
William Struthers. He's talking about the circuitry in our brain, that the same pathways for food pleasure and porn pleasure, they fire in the same way. So the fitness side of things, like you said, my approach is to help men rebuild and become a new person. I think that's got to start with our body. If there's something that has control over us as individuals, then it's got control over our bodies. So one piece that I use for all of my clients, and was a massive part of me, because in January of last year, I started practicing prolonged fasting, and I implemented the carnivore diet. So that's the first place that I look. It's like, let's look at what you're actually ingesting into your body, and let's get control over that. I think whatever you view on porn, whether it's an addiction or not, I think the biggest addiction that more people struggle with in the world than anything else is food. We all have that kind of like go-to thing. It's like, if we're feeling stressed after work, oh, well, this, cookie, cupcake, whatever is going to make me feel good, or,
And that's actually a great point, because unlike sex and sexual desire, the desire for food is absolutely essential for us to feed ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't feed myself sexually for 20 years, I'll be okay. Yeah. Like, my body knows what to do. If I don't feed myself physically, I'm done for. And so I feel like addiction to food, or an unhealthy dependence on food or disordered eating, is a huge part of recovery. And I'm wondering, for guys who are trying to quit pornography and they're also struggling with food, what would you say to them?
You got to start with fasting. You have to go. You don't need to do 40 days. You're not Jesus. You don't need to do 10 days. Start with 40 hours, because I think we've all probably at one point in our life gone an entire day without eating. So we know we can do that, but we got to push it past a threshold. And when you kind of study the literature on prolonged fasting, it's right around that day 2, the middle of day 2, when things really start to kick in, like from the inside, you begin to feel incredible. There's a lot that goes on in terms of cell reproduction. You get into ketosis, et cetera, et cetera. So you'll begin to gain more clarity on life and who you are. So I would say, if you want to take this approach, start with a 2-day fast. Start with going 48 hours away from food. Obviously make sure you stay hydrated. If you're looking for supplementation, if you're still training and still working out, make sure you're getting a lot of potassium, magnesium. So, some salt, electrolytes, etc. But start there. Start with just saying, when that temptation for that cookie or that treat, or, that ice cream late at night, or that bag of chips, like when that comes, like, if you can't say no to that, how are you ever going to, for an extended period of time, going to be able to say no to something that's so much stronger than food and such a stronger force? So I think you got to start with implementing a 2-day fast.
Okay. That is going to be a big step for a lot of guys. Is there like a smaller step, or do they just have to go for it with the 2 days?
I mean, I don't think that 24 hours is going to be effective enough. You can condense it to 40 hours.
Okay, I like that, because then it's like my version of Jesus. Jesus did 40 days, I can do 40 hours.
Yeah. So you can condense it down to 40, but to get the benefits, ketosis and cell reproduction, et cetera, like you need to go beyond the 24 hours. I don't have like a, well, you can eat this little thing. It's like, no, like you actually have to, fast.
Yeah. And guys, Frank does this professionally. He is a coach. He is a trainer, and he's done this with tons of guys. And if you want to work with him and for him to help you through this, you can look in the show notes for his contact information.